Hello, and welcome. It's me again, and I'm hoping you're getting to know me by now. It's Joy Ruffin coming to you from the Sunshine State, Florida. It's always good to be with you. Today is no exception. And today, the leading lady that we're going to be speaking with is going to be sharing a lot with you about stress. And she and I are going to take a wee bit of an aside and tell you what we dealt with tonight getting here to you. It's Wednesday night. So it's leading ladies, leaving legacies, living legacies. And that means that it's all about women who are female trailblazers, able to change. Woo, heart-centered. There's a lot of noise coming from Glo's side. Heart-centered leaders, cosmic healers, and purpose-driven women. All the women who come here incorporate one or all or some or in the process of requiring one way or the other. We're going to talk a lot about stress because there are a couple of things that in life most of us, many of us, some of us don't talk about, and that's sex, religion, and politics. And also, we're going to add in stress. And when it comes to stress, there's so much that all of us who are career women, who are working to be business women, stress can just seep in and it happens. So we're going to talk a lot about stress. We're going to talk a little bit about sex and sleep and all of that good stuff. But before we start, allow me to share with you a little bit about Glo. Glo is going to tell you a wee bit more in depth. But Glo has been about her career at what she's doing now and all that it encompasses for almost about 20 years. She's worked as a personal trainer and years of experience in radiology trauma. She's worked as a skilled professional speaker, an author, a detox specialist, an anger management specialist. Ooh, we need that today, don't we? And lots more. She also, I started to say in her younger days, well, she's already young and a beautiful young woman. She was a professional athlete. We'll talk a little bit about that too. So before I go any further, we all want to hear more of the front story, right? We're not interested in the backstory that much. Let me bring Glo over, and I want you to say hello and welcome to her. Glo, hello, and welcome. It's good to see you here. You were a bit noisy over there, but that's okay. We knew you were there.
I'm telling you, this was the perfect subject to get us going this afternoon because everything happened.
It sure did. It sure did. And before maybe you even go into a little bit about how you've come to do what you do, because we all deal with stress in one way or another. Tell us a little bit of more before we get into what happened with you and I tonight about how you came to deal and to work in this particular arena, stress. And I love the title, Drug Stress Relief, because yes, people think of drugs in a negative way and sometimes not so much so. So share with us a little bit about how you came to do the work that you're doing and why you love it so much.
Well, I had a very exciting youth, as you mentioned,
Yes.
as a professional athlete. And then I got injured and found myself in the medical field very early in my early 20s. And after that, I realized that I was in a profession that it evolved over time to something that wasn't for me after being involved over 13 years. So I found myself feeling overwhelmed. And what's so impactful about what I do today with career women, especially, is a lot of times like when we're overwhelmed, we don't realize we're overwhelmed. And it's not until we get to the point where we find ourselves in an emergency room or having just daily aches and pains, unexplained cause, all these strange things happening to us, and we realize we're burnt out. And that's pretty much what happened to me as I worked mostly night shift trauma. It got to the point where I wasn't sleeping. I was like awake for 2 days straight sometimes, and I would drink Mountain Dew. Uh, some of my colleagues probably didn't know all this about me, but I was not sleeping well, and I wanted a change, and I realized how difficult change can be, and also to accept the fact that it is time for a change. And I'm not saying everyone must go there and quit their jobs and try to find something they're passionate about and turn it into their career. But the most important thing for me in making the transition into this field of holistic health was I wanted to first know how to help myself. And I
That's so
tell a lot
powerful.
of clients I work with, if you don't help yourself first, you're no good to anybody else.
Oh, Glo, you have to hold on for 1 second there because I absolutely am over the moon with how you express that. You said quite a few very potent, powerful things. First off, I want to hear about the injury that you had when you were more or less working, not working, but being an athlete, which we always are if we are. And secondly, you talked about change and you said something that's more than powerful that many of us, and I know for me, myself included, I had to be told, you're dealing with a lot of stress because we don't acknowledge and we don't recognize that we are. So let's speak a little bit more about that because that's very powerful. It's hard for many of us, and I speak for me, to realize, oh my God, we're in a very stressful situation here. And how we get the triggers and come to that is what I'd like to hear more about from you.
Well, I really thought I was going to be a traveling athlete for the rest of my life and enjoy the luxury of getting a scholarship and doing all those wonderful things. And when I injured my knee, it was to qualify for a Central American and Caribbean Games.
Uh-huh.
That event took place 9 a.m. that morning, and I cried until about 3 p.m. that evening because I saw my whole life flash before my eyes. And
Mm,
I'm like, oh my goodness, my career is done. What would I do? And the anticipation of, I'm from the Bahamas, so the
yeah.
anticipation of traveling and getting all these scholarships, it was exciting. And my mom said to me, she said, well, Glo, you have two legs to last you for the remainder of your life. So you can push yourself and try to run harder and try to recover, or you can just use your academic scholarships. So I opt to use my academic scholarships, and just looking at the recovery of my leg,
Yeah.
my thigh was about the size of my arm. And it was amazing to see the transition of having my leg almost recreated over time and watching the evolution of that whole process. So I became fascinated with the body. And that's why everything I do is holistic approach. And I try to encompass all areas from mind, body, and everything else to bring about just the complete health coaching solution. And it was very scary for me as well because I felt like
Yeah.
all I knew was science, and I'm a nerd. Most people call me a nerd because I like to read more than I like to watch TV, but it's
I love that.
okay, I accept it now. And just the whole fascination with the human body. So there's no part of me that can ever have a career that does not encompass some sort of use of the physical, mental, and emotional aspect of bringing it together for the complete package. And
That is so beautifully put, Glo. That is so beautifully expressed. The how you came to marvel and want to know more about and understand the workings of the body, which encompasses the mind and the heart and all of that. But just to know and get more of a, a, a stance on it that leads to healthy living, which is what you're talking about. I think that's fantastic. Yeah. Tell us
well,
more.
the three areas that I usually speak of to clients is your sleep hygiene, your sex hygiene, and just overall resilience. And why I chose those? Because they're free. When we look at the cost of healthcare, when you weigh out the cost of visiting the doctors, and I'm not against doctors. I believe everything has
Yeah.
its place. I always tell my friends, hey, look, if I get hit by a car, don't bring me a shot of wheatgrass, okay? Take me, call 911 and get me some of the strongest stuff you got, right?
I think that's a very good qualified difference. There's a good and big difference, and one has to know the difference.
Yes.
I absolutely am blown away about how you came to the appreciation and the love of the study of the body and how it segued for you into holistic health and everything that that entails. I think that's just really a wonderful way to go. You also mentioned, you heard me say in the beginning that there are three things that we just don't talk about, and they have subcategories, but that's
Mhm.
religion, politics, and sex. Tell us
Mhm.
because people shy away from these conversations. Tell us a little bit about more about sex and how that relates and connects to stress and how you relate and connect to the people that you work with in that regard.
Well, when it comes to sex, our sexuality overall, I find a lot of us, we are we are looking for someone to complete us.
Yes.
And when I work with women, I like to find out how are they treating themselves, because I'm not sure, but this is just my theory. For men, it's a bit different. No one actually goes inside of them. I mean, we're all adults here, right?
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
if you don't feel good about yourself at the core, if you're not taking care of yourself, and then to allow someone else to come inside you, this is just so critical. Because when it comes to stress, for me, I've been coaching folks on weight loss and just health coaching and stuff. And once we have had a few sessions, and I realize the reason why the stubborn fat is there or the chronic stress is there,
Uh-huh.
it's a lot of times is lack of self-confidence, not feeling complete. But our society is so driven by the instant gratification. Hey, let's just cut it off, or suck it out, or never really going back to the root cause of the matter, which is you feeling whole and complete spiritually, emotionally, and physically with yourself. And this is why I kind of drifted away from just doing weight loss, because yeah, I could do pretty well financially, but for me, if you don't address the cause, right, we'll always the problem will always linger. So
Well,
for me,
I'm going to interject and cut you off for just a second because you're giving us some good nuggets here. And the premise for this show, in many ways, the leading lady sharing information and knowledge, tips and tools with other women. You mentioned something that I like the way you put it very diplomatically and poetically, really going inside of you.
mhm,
Because we have to learn, all of us, especially women, young, mature, and on, we have to learn to build that relationship with ourselves.
yes,
That gives you the confidence and the healthy, some people don't like the word ego, but self-esteem, vanity, whatever, however you want to verbalize it. That relationship with yourself, when you build it and it's solid, and you're always growing, you're always evolving, there's always something that you're building and adding more onto. But if you don't do that, then that's why so many women allow people to come into their lives and
mm,
to, especially men, when they don't get their own stuff, my word is stuff together, then this can happen. And that's exactly what you're speaking to in a much more poetic way. I love that. Yes.
well, when I mentor young adults, there's an organization I'm very fond of,
Yes.
and they call their programs Identify Impact. When we know who we are,
Yes.
okay, when we're solid in our identity, we can then it's much easier to set boundaries. It's like we have a standard already. And if we don't know who we are, we make decisions based on the outcomes of the situation.
Yes.
Like I'll date this guy because he blah blah blah, or I'll stay in this marriage because of blah blah blah. Well,
Mhm.
but when we know and we can identify who we are, whether you're a leader or not, I believe everybody has different roles and gifts. But
Exactly.
I spend a lot of time with young adults, just helping them to learn their identity, especially young women, because you know I don't know about some of our viewers, but for me, I'm in my 30s, late 30s,
Yes.
and it wasn't okay for me to just show all my stuff. And when I go into the high schools to give a talk, and I see like I almost
Yes.
feel like it's like a pornographic semi butt cheeks hanging out. I'm like, oh my goodness, where was this girl parents when she left the house? And then when you move it up into the business world, which is why I was so excited to come on your show, I go to some of these meetings and I see the stilettos, and
Oh,
I'm like, wow. I mean, that might get you the deal, but
well,
what is your identity? What are you trying to identify with? How do you feel sexually about yourself? Is that something you cherish? Is that where your center comes from? I just ask myself these questions, and again, to everybody's got their way of doing business.
Well,
But if we are the role models for the younger generation, okay?
mm. Well, listen, let me just interject. I'm doing this a lot with you because you're speaking my language. You know that I volunteer with young juvenile delinquent girls too, not too, but as well, young girls, uh,
Mm-hmm.
trouble and distress, whatever terminology you want to use. And I'm so happy because you're the younger generation and I'm the happy senior. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy to see that there is a connection of the mind there. Because what you just said, I could sit there and say the same thing. Because many times when I go into the schools, I see these young girls and I'm saying, where are the parents? What happened?
Mm-hmm.
And I used to, before I had my awakening, blame them, but they're not to be blamed. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
have guidance, and one of my mentors said, "What you don't know what you don't know." And if they
Right.
don't know, and if everything they're seeing is in the media, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
they feel connects to their femininity and their sexuality, showing everything, displaying, then what are they to look to? Who are they to look to? So that's very powerful for me, what you just said, because sometimes I think, not that I'm mine, I'm a maverick, that is just me, but it's nice to know that younger people, women especially, see that our children, our younger generation, they need a lot more guidance. And that's hopefully what you and I will be imparting in different ways. Now, you talk about sex and you talk about wellness. Let's talk about how that relates to, because we could go on and on with that subject.
Yeah.
Let's talk about sleep and rest and how that affects one when it comes to stress.
Well, one thing when one of my strategies when I'm working with clients, I like to give simple solutions that they're most likely going to remember and apply. That's key. Remember and apply. And when
Yeah.
it comes to sleep, many of us, I mean, well, let me give you another scenario. I always ask them, how long can you live without food? Maybe a month or so, you know, a couple of days. Well, how long can you live without water, right?
Uh-huh.
How long can you live without oxygen or air? But no one really thinks about how long can you live without sleep if you just kept yourself awake. And a lot of times there's this misconception think because you're laying in bed at the time when you're supposed to be sleeping, that means your body is resting and replenishing. No,
No.
sleep and rest is vital. If you go so many hours without sleep, it's worse than being drunk. I mean, there is like research behind this. And I would tell anyone who's looking for stress relief, affordable, free stress relief, learn your body and try to figure out how to get your body to really relax. I incorporate some aromatherapy. I incorporate some other things, the nutrition. I'll be happy to share with anyone who want to text Best Life Now to 22828. That's
Mm-hmm.
Best Life Now to 22828. That'll get you on my email list. And I will give you my meal guide, my stress-free meal guide, just because there's actually foods you can eat that will help your body relax. And I'm not talking about valerian root and things like that will make you too relaxed. You don't want to get too relaxed, right? But just learning your body, learning your own routine. Some people don't even have a routine. They just let life dictate where they go. I mean, as I get older, I'm realizing whether I have one kid, two kid, three, four, none, just a husband and a dog or whatever I have, we find ways to fill up our schedule, and the busyness is such a misconception, and the ability to just stay attached to our devices is like we never rest. Technology is happening super fast. Our minds are just going like clockwork all the time. When
Yeah.
do we rest? And
And
that's
you
a
know,
simple solution.
yes, and that's one of the things I read the other day that our younger people today, we never rest, especially, well, everyone, but there are more suicides among young people than
Oh.
ever before. And it's because of this boom, 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 boom. But you mentioned something here that none of us really should today have an excuse for, is that is health, and whether it's holistic or not, is getting to know and understand our bodies because there's so much available to us.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, it shouldn't have to be like you, where you have some mishap that causes injury to your body, where all of a sudden you're mesmerized and captivated with the whole study of the body. Those of us, and especially young people today who are out here working and being about building a career and having a life, ought to be learning as much about their body and how to take care of it. I love that you have this Best Life diet plan, food plan that will help and support people in doing that, because I think we all need it. We all need it. Rest, sleep, resiliency. And how do you speak to that? How do you tie that in? Resiliency, you mentioned change, and that's so hard for many of us, especially for the older generation, because that type of health awareness was not available that we have now for many of them. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I'm a bit in the middle. And when I work with the young folks, there's a whole nother level of communication going on there. I was actually in a speech contest, and one of the gentlemen that won, he talked about this gap in communication, that the young folks, they don't talk, they text. And the older folks, they don't text, they want to talk. Like, it's like, and I'm thinking in the middle here, like, who still leaves a voice message? So we definitely have to work better at our communications, because for me, even to tie all this into what I do, focusing on the sleep and the sexual health, that's where the resilience comes from. Because when you think about your sleep, you're nourishing, you're allowing your body to repair itself. When you think about your sexual health, for you to be a healthy sexual being, and I'm not talking about necessarily intercourse, but I'm just talking about being complete in yourself. Okay. You have to eat well. You have to treat yourself kind. Most people don't even have compassion for themselves. I mean, if, for example, driving, I see people, I mean, someone cut you off, they're gone, but you're in the car banging, and you know what? That's all impacting you. That's all on you. That person's gone. They're not thinking about you. They don't even know you, and they don't care who you are.
We have all seen that. We have all witnessed that in one way or another. And what you just said, it takes a while, though, Glo, for anyone who is on the path of self-discovery and getting to know themselves. It takes a while before you get into that's not me, it's their issue.
And this is where resilience comes in, though. And I always tell, before I started working with coaches and stuff, when I made my transition from the health industry, the medical industry, into being a full-time entrepreneur as a holistic practitioner, I didn't realize, I would see people say, oh, I'm a coach, or I have a mentor. And I was like, why you need, like, aren't you smart enough? Like, there's like tons of books, there's Google. But the reality is, if we could all naturally just become great people that knew our purpose, knew our focus, do what we're supposed to do the right way all the time, there would be a lot more of that going on. But what do we see? We see a wave of folks who are overwhelmed, frustrated, and I say that to say this, there's folks like yourself and myself. We have our specialties, and we're here to help, because someone did come alongside me to help me get through my challenges. And this is where you build your resilience. It doesn't come overnight. And I won't tell anyone. I mean, a perfect example is just us trying to get on the show tonight. I'm talking about drug-free stress relief, and everything's going on. And I was warned to be quiet. And the first thing happens, something falls loud. So you build resilience over time, and through practice, and through connecting yourself to community or someone who is willing to take you by the hand. They're gonna be patient with you, allow you to fall and get back up, and you build that resilience. You come up with a plan or some sort of a strategy, because life is gonna happen to us whether we like it or not.
Glo, I'm chuckling and I'm laughing here because we did have a adventure getting here to this show. And yet I'm applauding both of us, because you maintain your composure, your voice, the tone didn't go up and down. I could tell that. And you said to me very calmly, just give me a few minutes and we will get it fixed. My husband and I are working on it. I hope my response to you was the same, modulated in a way that was calm, because I was concerned, but I said, let's not, because This is the first time, and yet I think we both handle it well. You know, we have these tech gremlins, and you're much more technologically advanced than I am, but you handled it very well. Tell us a little bit about what happened there and how you dealt with that stress. That's a good point to convey so that people know stress is not all it's cracked up to be.
Well, this goes right along with my message of turning stressful moments into opportunities for high performance, because I could have said, oh my goodness, the mic's not working. But for me, I'm aware that things go wrong. And usually what I find is when there's a message that needs to get out, there's an obstacle in the way. And it's like when we have a purpose in life or something to share, that timidity that's holding us back, right? Or those obstacles that's
That is
in the
so
way.
profound, my friend. What you just said,
Yeah.
repeat that, because that is way beyond profound. I have to get a better word because that's powerful, very powerful. Repeat that because I think many people who are here now and those who will come for the replay, they need to hear that. I heard that. It resonated with me because I'm very boom, boom, boom as you are. I think we both have
Hmm.
high energy, but sometimes you have to learn to be calm and
Hmm.
allow that stress to come in. So repeat what you just said. That was very powerful. I love that.
Well, in my progress in trying to get on the show, I prepared a whole hour in advance. I put the app on my phone as a backup. I had it on the
Yeah.
computer. We're all set to go. And right before we start, there was that obstacle. And I learned that when there's a message to get out, when we feel in ourselves something's holding us back, the timidity or the fear that stops folks from writing the book or
Uh-huh.
launching the business or even making a career change, whatever it is, when we feel that overwhelming sensation, most likely that's something we're supposed to do. I try to follow a lot of great people. And when you look at the struggle, there was never greatness done without a struggle. And if we can just accept that if we're going to be great, there's going to be something in the way. And I really believe this message is going to impact someone tonight because, like you said, it was looking like it couldn't happen. But I said, you know what? This is going out. So
Glo,
here
that
we
was
are.
delicious. That was delicious. Let me tell you why. Because you work and volunteer with young people, as do I. And one of the things that we both know is that everything takes time. Everything good takes
Yes.
time. And it's a continual building. And too many of our beautiful, wonderful young people, because they don't have the right role models,
Oh.
they want to be rich and famous overnight. It doesn't happen that
Mhm.
way. Everything takes time. And the way I'm going to go back myself and listen to this because I love the way you expressed the importance of everything takes time and that sometimes when an obstacle is put in your way, it's put there for a reason. That was
Mhm.
very, very delicious. Oh, that's my new word, delicious. I think it's
I like it.
it works. We're working on some other project. But stress is a very insidious little bugger. It
Hmm.
really is. And we all know that. What are some of the tips and clues that you can give us? I know for myself, I mentioned it earlier. My friend had to pull me aside and say, Joy, you need to slow down, you need to breathe, and you need to get a little bit more rest, so on, because she knows me so well. I guess I was in tune, but not hearing. So, what are some of the triggers that you can see, or when, even if you don't know someone very well, that allows you to know it's time for them to back up, sit down, and breathe and relax before they continue onward?
Believe it or not, the first place to start is yourself.
Yes.
Energetically, and I'm not speaking about just spooky, weird stuff going on in the air. I'm saying energetically, like how there's electrons and stuff in the air, we radiate an energy from us.
Yes.
So if we are grounded or aware, we get that hint that something's off with somebody else. And that's
Hmm.
a good prompt if you're trying to help others and even for ourselves. We we know ourselves better than we think we do.
Yes, we do. Yes.
And this is where there's the positive side of stress. Because if you're going, for example, I had some attorney clients,
Yes.
and they were in the same office complex as I was. And they could just walk right across the hall and have a session. No big deal, right? And I said to them, I said, listen, you got a monthly subscription with me. Just walk over whenever you're ready.
Right.
My door is open. And they had the piles of file. Well, the cases are due and blah, blah, blah. And okay. And next thing I know, one of them's going to the hospital. Why?
Mhm.
The message was there. You're working late. And you know, I like to give this analogy of a plate. If you ever went to a buffet, right? You see some folks, it seemed like they try to put the whole buffet on the plate, right? I'm like, you know, nobody's kicking us out. We probably have a few hours to sit here. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna put like you know, something I want to try on there, and then I'm gonna go back. And I don't know if it may be even lazy. The fact that we just want to try to squeeze everything on the plate one time, but
Yes.
just first
Yes.
having that awareness in ourselves. And let's give credit to the stress, because when something happens to us and we get the sensation that there's danger, it may come in the form of sweating, or you may be going to your car and you just sense that I
Yes.
don't really want to go that way or whatever, right? But
Glow.
the
Yes.
thing
I.
is,
Yeah.
I was
I.
just going to say, some people, they stay in that state. So what was meant to be made good for us, we
Yes.
now turn it into a negative, because the body triggers us to for that fight and flight response for a reason, so we could survive. But when we turn it into this long term, always triggered, never shutting off for some of us, you know,
Well, Glow,
that's no sleep.
I have to come in here now because I want to. I love the way you express the means and ways that all of us, in many different ways, showcase and display our stress. You said two things that I want to address and speak to before we say so long for now. You said that we have to build that relationship with ourselves and we have to see ourselves.
Yes.
And you also mentioned busy, 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 busy. I think sometimes for me, and I can only speak for me, but I also have very good eyes and I can see other people. I think many times that back to building the relationship with yourself, it's
Mm-hmm.
very difficult for people, especially when they, for whatever the reasons are, and they're numerous, don't want to really get in touch and in depth with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They're busy, 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 busy because whatever it is that's there, they don't want to acknowledge and be aware of. Is that not so? This is what I found. I found it for me. It
Definitely.
was painful, that realization that a lot of that busy, 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 busy was to run away from something that I needed to be addressing. So that said, again, back to building that relationship with yourself, you have to do that. And you
Yeah.
have to surround yourself with people who will pull you aside and say, listen, my love, boom, 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 boom. Because otherwise, as much as you want to see and you want to grow and evolve and develop, you can
Mm-hmm.
only do a lot by yourself. In fact, most of it you do alone, but you do need people around you. You mentioned about needing coaches and people with you. Yes,
Yes.
you need a circle of people, right?
Yes. Absolutely. A
Indeed.
support system.
Indeed. It's
Absolutely.
so important. We could go on because I love the way you speak. I love the way you describe, address,
Well,
and
you know, each one of these subjects really deserve a show of its own.
isn't that the truth? Isn't well, listen, we'll have to do that. We'll have to do that because we're just touching the base and titillating the imagination for people to start thinking more or less about how it works for them. But here's what I'd like to do. You mentioned before we say so long for now, and thank you for being here. I mean, it's
Welcome, my
really
pleasure.
absolutely, for me, everyone knows that I'm a perennial student, and obviously all of the ladies who are here, thank you, ladies, for being here. I think that they as well, we're all students of life forever. The journey never ends. But what is it that you want to leave us with? You mentioned something about the best life and a number two. I want to make sure that you text me that I can put that up on the
Sure.
program so that people can get to you because I would like to see that for myself, the best foods. I like to think that I'm a health enthusiast, but it's more than that. I want to always be aware of all the possibilities that are available to all of us. So let us know Is there anything that you want to share with us before we say so long for now? And what would you like to leave us with?
They can text best life now, like live your
Okay.
best life now, to the
Mhm.
number 22828, and that will prompt them to subscribe to my email list, and I can send them the stress-free lifestyle meal guide. And it's just a variety of foods. I do some cooking shows and freezer meal planning shows with another friend of mine, and we just came up with some foods that work well for stress relief. And a lot of times we can fall into the emotional eating, but if we're emotional eating and eating the wrong thing, right, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So why not find healthy stuff? And there is healthy stuff. You could probably overeat them and have a blast, and it won't run you down and drain your energy. So text best life now to 22828, or just email me Glo Knowles, Glo
Yeah.
without the W,
I
Glo@gloknowles.com.
put,
Yep.
mhm. I put that up, and your name and your website. But also, when we're done, I will text and put that in the comments. So those who are here now can get
Mhm.
that and get that list and join your mailing list. And also for those who come for the replay, because we know the majority for the replay. Is there
Yeah.
anything else you want to leave us with, my love, before we say so long for now?
Be blessed and truly live your best life now. That's
Yeah.
that's all you have. Take care of you first and have a little compassion for yourself. If you start with you, it's a lot easier to have compassion for others, because that's the universal language. It doesn't matter age, religion, or nothing. If you're in an accident or something, you don't ask the person what's your age or sex or religion or anything, or political identity, right? It's that compassion that's the universal glue for all of us. Start with yourself and be blessed. Thank you for having me on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. And you will come back because these are separate titles that we will talk about.
Yeah,
I'm going to take you back to the green room for just a second. If you can sit
sure.
there and let me say so long for the audience, and I'll be back with you. And then we can discuss a few more things that we'll do at another time. Thank you, my love. It was
You're
really
welcome.
wonderful. I appreciate you.
My
Thank you.
pleasure. Okay,
What can
bye-bye.
I say, my friends? All of you lovely ladies who are here, thank you for coming. It's always good to see you. We never know what's going to happen. My new best friend here, Glo, she has the demeanor and the calmness. I thought I had it, but she taught me here. But that's okay. We did what we had to do, and we came here tonight. And both of us are boom, 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 and breathing heavy because we didn't know what was going to happen. But she comes with such potent, powerful information that we all need. No matter what our lifestyle and what we're doing, we all need to be more in tune with ourselves and understand the triggers that we sometimes deal with that lead to stress and how to deal with them. So I'm hoping I'll put that information here in the comment if you didn't get it, so that you'll be able to get to her and get information. She's a young lady who comes with a lot of powerful information that she's willing and open to share with you. So hopefully, not hopefully, you will connect with her. And it's always good to see you. Patricia Phyllis, it's always a pleasure. And my Eloisa, always good. By the way, next Tuesday night and next Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. In the meantime, as Glo said, take care of you first and do the very best that you can, because it's only then that you're going to be able to serve others. She gave us so much good information that will help us to be strong, healthy, and be able to be that for other people. It's always good to see you, and I'm honored that you took the time to be here, because I know it's not the best time. Have a great weekend. Enjoy, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week, same time, same station. So long for now. Cheers.